Welcome to the Same Side Selling Podcast. I know it's a big shocker for people. I'm your host, Ian Altman. Our guest today is Mike Greene of Air Controlled Products. That is the name, right, Mike?
Yep, that is correct. Air Controlled Products.
And we've had the good pleasure of working with Mike and his team for a number of years, and it's always helpful for our listeners to hear about other people's successes and what they're doing and kind of their story of same-side selling in their business. So, Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for having me.
So can you give people a little bit of background on air-controlled products, or as I often have in my system as ACP, but, because everyone needs a good abbreviation. But tell me the background of the company and the markets you serve and what you guys do.
So my father started Air Controlled Products back in 1975. It's an HVAC manufacturer's rep with an architectural arm. So we have architectural, movable walls, and other specialized equipment. We're in Ohio. We cover 3/4 of Ohio. So my dad used to work for a wholesaler, and he developed a business just like this for that wholesaler and decided to go out on his own. So starting Air Controlled Products in 1975 from scratch. There was nothing there. He built the company up to about $12 million during his tenure. I took the company over about 15 years ago with that 12 million in sales, and today we branched it up to nearly 100. Yeah. So a lot of stuff has happened in between there. I'm your typical second generation that wanted to blow it up. My dad wanted to keep it somewhat small. Yep. And I was, Dad, there's more here. I can see it. I can feel it. Let's go. And he didn't have the appetite for that. So once I took over, I started making a few changes, started doing some things. I joined Vistage, which is how I met Ian, and they started giving me the tools that I needed to make it go. We were blessed to be in the HVAC industry, which since COVID has just exploded. Everybody realizes now how important fresh air is for a building. Sure. And we are on the commercial side of things. We're not on residential. So that's a little bit different place, if you will.
And your customers, who are as much partners as they are customers, who are you typically selling to or working with or partnering with on your projects?
We're working with sheet metal, mechanical contractors is who buys the material. We also work with mechanical engineers and architects. Those are the guys who design the buildings. They hopefully use our equipment as their basis of design when the job goes out for bid.
Got it. And so when we started working together, what size was the business then?
We were about 42 million.
Okay. So 42 million. And that was how long ago?
2 years ago.
Yeah. Two or so, and now you're about 100 million. And so what was the driving force behind changing the sales approach or giving people different tools? I mean, you got an amazing team of people. Your reps are fantastic. I just find they're always highly engaged. Like when I see them in our Same Side Selling Academy, it's like they always have great questions and great insight. And even there's times where someone else will ask a question, I'll give an answer, we'll role play it, and I'll say, who else has an idea? And like Kyle and your team will jump in and go, well, here's another way to approach it. So what was the driving force behind introducing these concepts?
Well, the sales team here, the culture here is always trying to learn more. We have a young team. I'd say when they're young, they're in their 30s, and they're always looking to be the best they can be. And we were coming up with a lot of different theories, and we needed someone to validate what we were going through. And I was fortunate enough to meet you at a Vistage meeting maybe 4 years ago, and you kind of brought all these theories to light. And when my guys were coming in here saying, Mike, help me understand this better, your name popped into my head. It's like, I think Ian can help us connect the dots. And that's what we were doing. We had a lot of theories. We really work on relationships. We really want our customers to feel like part of our family. That is key. But trying to make sure that they understood we were on the same side with them. This is what we can do to help you. A lot of guys can't see that. They only see the upfront costs. They can't see what it actually costs them at the end of the job. And that's what we do really, really well.
Yeah. And so in your industry, I don't even imagine, because I know, because we work with other people in your industry, one of the challenges can be the customer / partner you're working with doesn't understand the difference between what you do and what other people do. So if someone else gives them a lowball bid that has no margin in it for that manufacturer's rep, they think, oh, this is a great deal, not knowing that those people now don't have the resources to properly support them. So how big of an issue is that? How do you guys overcome it?
That's a huge issue. There's so many problems that happen in the field if things don't go right. Think about a construction crew. You got 30 guys show up on a job site and your material doesn't show up on time. Now you have to dispatch 30 people to different jobs, put them all over the place. It just takes a ton of time and effort. So we work really hard here on project management, making sure we have the number one manufacturers that can ship your materials on time correctly with no damages. That is huge. So there's about 10 things that we do, maybe 20, that we can show the customer how they're actually saving money by spending a little more upfront to buy our services. But we work extremely hard to make sure we take it from cradle to grave without any problems.
Sure, because I mean, let's face it, if the material doesn't show up, you're paying for that labor sitting around looking at each other. Or if all of a sudden there's a problem in the field, if you're dealing with someone who's kind of your bottom feeder in the industry and they got a problem, the person's like, well, I don't know. I just sell the product. I have no idea. One of the things that impressed me is when I came out to your facility was the extent to which you guys have product warehoused ready. So if all of a sudden someone says, oh, we need 20 VAVs for this install, and it turns out they need 26, in most cases, you have product in inventory and you're like, yeah, we can get someone out there in the next hour to bring this to you. And instead of that contractor burning labor that's doing nothing, they don't miss a trick. And all of a sudden they're getting the job done faster. They're avoiding delays, and it probably helps them win the next job.
Absolutely. Keeping a customer happy is number one. But yeah, our manufacturers and us work really hard on making sure we have quick ships. So just the other day, one of our fans showed up and it had a damaged piece. The box looked fine. It was damaged. One of those mystery things that happens. We called our manufacturer. We had one next day aired that day so they could have it put in the following day. Yeah. A lot of our competition can't even do that, right? But we can make those kind of things happen.
And also, part of that has to do with your guys' philosophy on how you're always partnering with your customers, but it also has something to do with, because the volume you're doing, when you call up the manufacturer and say, hey, I need this shipped, it's got to be here overnight, they don't say, who? They're like, oh, we got to get this overnight because the guys at Air Control Products, they're in a pinch and we got to make sure we're taking care of them, which in turn takes care of your partner/customer as well.
That's a great point. We've elevated ourselves through the additional sales to become a very, very shiny object for our manufacturers. I've got really good relationships with the ownership of all of our manufacturers, and they do go out of their way to make sure they help us. And the relationship we have with our customers is just as important as our manufacturers, right? So we try to be the easiest company to do business with, not only from the manufacturing side, but the customer side as well, and the employee side, right? We want to be easy to do business with everybody we work with. And that's so key. And we preach that constantly.
Yeah, that element of reducing the friction in the process is something that I think nowadays too many companies overlook that. And you think about it, it's like, if I order an Uber to go someplace, I know exactly where that vehicle is, what the person's rating is, history is, et cetera. If I order something on Amazon, I know exactly where that is at any point in time. And then there's companies that are like, oh, well, this didn't happen and we're not going to communicate to the customer. And you're like, no, you can't do that because they've got staff out on this project. I know that when we were working with your team, a lot of it came down to, I mean, it's cliche, but how do we end up on the same side with our customers? Because you guys are trying to solve the same puzzle together. And I think that that's just, it's a cultural fit for your team because everybody has that same mindset. So what is it that you look for when you're hiring, when you're recruiting people in sales, when you're recruiting people for your team? What skills do you look for that other people can learn from? Because you've got just great people.
We've done a phenomenal job recruiting, a big heart, drive, friendly, relationship-based. Typically, our sales guys have a lot of friends. They have a lot of things going on. They relate to people well. I think that's about 90% of it. They're all smart kids. They can learn a lot of stuff, and we're good at teaching our wares. We can teach you CFM, static pressures, fans, air distribution, louvers, air handling units. We can do all of that. The piece that we can't teach is that normal human being piece. And we've done a really nice job of attracting that crowd. We have a lot of friends out there looking for people for us. Our banker sent us his son. We recruit. He's going to the college we recruit from, University of Akron, and he went over there during an engagement, and he's here as a co-op on a sales bench program. So we have a lot of friends looking out for us. We've made it a desirable workplace. We try to have a lot of fun. And that's a whole other topic, Ian, about having fun at work. It's not like we do a lot of extracurricular things. We just generally have a culture of having fun. That's every day, laughing, working together, again, liking each other.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome culture.
Yeah, and I think it's something that a lot of businesses overlook because they get so focused on, well, people have to do this, they have to do that, that they forget that, look, people do well when they're enjoying what they're doing. And your team, they always have that curiosity also. Like, hey, what's the client really trying to solve here? You were telling me a story about a scenario with a client where it's like, look, the key to the conversation was, how do we figure out what the client's actually trying to solve? Like, instead of the client's upset about something, but what are they actually trying to solve? How do we get to that? I don't know if you can share that story or a piece of it. I'll leave it to you as to how much of that you can share.
Well, we had a problem out in the field, and the architect was upset, and he called a meeting together to find out what the issue was. And we all kind of knew what it was. It wasn't a product issue. It was a timing issue. So it turns out that his customer was upset with, he went to 6 meetings in a row. For 6 weeks, everybody showed up in the meeting and didn't have answers, right? We all thought other things were wrong, but we just asked him politely and kindly from curiosity, what do we need to do here? Again, we all had an idea of what we thought it was, but it wasn't as easy as when he spit it out. He just said, hey, I got an upset client. I got to figure out how to solve this. Well, it turns out one of the guys in the meeting knows him personally. Nobody knew that, right? And the other issue was pretty simple, but we all thought it was a bigger problem than it was. I think when we all go to meetings, we don't really understand the landscape that's around us. We all just assume that George is just going to be a hard ass in the meeting and make demands. Well, rarely when you put 10 people in a room and we're all looking at each other, rarely does that ever happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
to solve the issue.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I talked about it, it was all about, hey, look, we just want to show them that we're being reasonable, and then ask them, hey, here's the way we're approaching it. Here's our perspective on it. Help us understand how that's different from your perspective. And it sounded like you had everyone on the same side, and it was like, oh, well, now all of a sudden, what the resolution they came to was just a reasonable resolution. It wasn't like you were trying to get something more out of them or they were trying to get something more out of you. You were just trying to find a good outcome for everybody.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what came out. And they couldn't argue with that. When we said our case, we pleaded it out there. They were like, yeah, we agree with you. Okay, if you agree with me and we're on the same on this, we're on the same side of this, then how do we solve it? And it came down to, go ahead.
My favorite part about the story, though, was how you were facing this in advance of the meeting, and then what led you to reach out to me. So tell us about that. I thought that was great.
The one thing that I truly learned from Ian was the role playing. I think that's so important. I do that with every big decision coming up or every meeting that has some meat to it that I think I can use a little bit of help. So I called my lead sales guy, Kyle, and I said, Kyle, I need some help role playing today. Where are you at? And he was at a golf outing. He's like, dude, I'm out of pocket all day long. Sorry. Yeah. He's like, just call Ian. I'm like, oh, I don't know why I didn't think of that. So yeah, I called Ian. We went through it right before the meeting. I was fresh in my mind. I sat down, I laid it out, and the guys looked at me like, yeah, we agree with you, Mike. Okay, then how do we solve the problem? Let's go from there. So we hit kind of a level ground with each other.
Sure.
And we were all on the same page.
Yep.
And solved it.
So your meeting went well the other day.
The meeting went great. Yeah, I took your advice and I gave them the different scenarios and put it on a menu and put it in front of them. And it totally disarmed them to what they were going to argue. I think they had an agenda maybe in their mind, but when I put that in front of them, they looked a little pondered and it took them a minute.
Yeah.
And So he kind of went back to, well, we still have a problem, and this is my problem. So we flushed the problem out that he had early in the meeting.
Yeah.
So I wasn't trying to struggle to figure out what the real issue was.
What was the real issue?
The issue was the owner was upset with him, and he was upset with some other things that we really weren't part of. And that was his problem. And his problem turned into our problem inadvertently. And that's why we were in that meeting.
Yeah.
So we helped him dissolve that with his party.
Which is kind of what we suspected anyhow, which is the owner's pissed off because the architect and designer didn't catch stuff, or that the other contractor didn't catch stuff. And it's like, basically someone's like, well, I'm in trouble. Let me see if I can extract something out of Mike.
Yeah. So, and we try to be good partners in this community that we live in and try to help everybody. Right. So we're all there to help solve the solution.
Of course. Yeah.
One of the partners felt that if we offered to help, that would be an admission of guilt, which is always an issue. But I think you have to position yourself clearly on that front as well. Like, hey,
of course,
we don't really know exactly what happened, but however, we're here to help. So what does that look like? So the next job comes along and everybody helps everybody again on the next project. But you form relationships that help you get the next thing done quicker.
Sure.
And hopefully before it gets to a problem like that, we can get to the fire quicker, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was forming better relationships too, Ian, and making sure they know they can talk to us.
Sure. Yeah. And I think by sharing it the way you did, it puts them in a position where they're like, well, Mike's being totally reasonable. Yes, makes perfect sense. Like, it's tough for someone to go, well, you're being totally reasonable, but I still don't like it. Like, it's like, okay, you're being totally reasonable. Maybe we need to own some of this too. Okay, cool. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm not looking for you to do this alone, guys. I just want to make sure we're being fair.
Yep, that's exactly right. And we role played that quite a bit going in as well to make sure that it sounded fluid. We knew what we were talking about. We had the passion in our voices.
Yeah.
So we had the right tone, like, hey, this is how it looks to us. How does it look to you guys?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, that curiosity. It's
right.
Exactly. It's the curiosity, and it's not the self-righteous and indignation of like, we're right and you're wrong. It's like, hey, here's the way we're seeing it, but maybe we're wrong in this. And like, no, that's probably right. Okay, well, now that we know that's right, what do we do to solve it? Okay. And it's like, just makes life a little bit easier that way. So,
and I feel if you come with positive intent and common sense, a lot of times, and you're right, self-righteousness is out the window. It's like, hey, just help us understand what we got to deal with here. Because I think in so many meetings, people ping pong and it takes people a half hour to try to figure out what the real problem is. But if you could just get them to tell you,
yeah,
it's so much easier, right? Because you can assume they're wrong.
Yeah, and you got it. I mean, that's the lion's share of it. It's just fascinating how many people overlook that kind of stuff. And you're like, look, this is pretty straightforward, guys. It's just like, and usually people are afraid to hear the truth. And you're like, look, getting the truth is a really good thing. It's just like, it's not a bad thing. Like, if someone's pissed off about something, that's fine. And Mike, I know that you talked about how your dad started this business, and when you took it over, it was about 15 million, and now you're up to about 100 million. And I know you've got your son in the business also. So what's that like?
That's been an awesome experience for me. My son went to the University of Cincinnati. He took business, and he worked down there for about 5 years before he came to work for me. And, during that time, I'm in my upper 50s, so I'm looking at what I'm going to do. And in our industry, there's been a lot of consolidation going on right now. So a lot of big multiples, a lot of money flowing around out there. So a lot of my buddies are selling out.
Yeah.
Well, when you have a son in the business or a family member in the business, it re-energizes you. I've now have the rejuvenation of building this with him. He's a pretty smart kid, which really helped. He's smarter than me. So I've got the wisdom and experience, and he has the brains for business. So the two of us make a power couple right now, which has really been awesome. Because, when I've been doing this my whole life, I started out with sales with my dad when I was in my early 20s, got into management and then took over the company. So I probably don't have the energy that I did. So helping Michael grow the company now has been a phenomenal experience for me. Our vendors love it because they don't really want a lot of big conglomerates owning up the industry. They like the mom and pop.
Sure.
because we're on the road every day. We're hugging customers. We're friends with our customers, and that's a lot more appealing. But yeah,
Yes.
it's been a phenomenal experience. Thanks for asking. He started buying the company from me in January of this year.
That's great.
So we're looking forward to that transition,
That's great.
which
I'm
is
sure
going
it
to
was
be
a tough negotiation.
it's going to be a long 10-year adventure. So, but
You know
we're
what?
all good.
That's awesome. So what's next for air control products? What are the things that you notice? You were also sharing how you've incorporated some of the same side selling principles into the materials that you share with your partners and customers.
Yes. So I created a engagement strategy manual. Kind of copied a little bit of what you've been doing, Ian. And in here, it's all the different things that we can do differently than our competitors that a lot of people don't realize. That project management piece, dealing with the number one manufacturers, and understanding where our clients are in the client vision pyramid. So in it, it's got a little bit of
Love
that,
it.
but it's based a lot around what you preach, Ian, or teach, I should say. But it's a lot of common sense too. It just
Yeah.
takes what you do and understand it better and relay that to your customers. Your customers don't know all the things you do. You have to tell them. We
Yeah.
assume they know how great we are. Hey, we're awesome. We're air control products. No, they don't care. They don't know, but they need to understand, and we have to prove it to them.
Of
So we can
course.
teach them all day long, but if we don't prove it to them, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. And that notion of them understanding that, oh, here's what we do to make sure that your employees aren't sitting idle on a job site waiting for stuff. Here's what we do. Like you mentioned a couple times that, well, we found this thing and it was defective, it was faulty. Guess what? There's a lot of people in your industry who are just drop shipping. They're not inspecting stuff when it comes in. So you're catching stuff 2 or 3 steps before it would ever become a problem. And that's something that if we don't tell them, the HVAC contractor has no idea that that's a real risk until they work with someone like that and they go, what do you mean it showed up defective and you didn't know? You guys have a whole process of how you receive stuff, how you inspect it before it goes out. Other people are just like, oh yeah, just, slap it, throw it into a truck and drop it off. Oh, it's defective? Okay, now we'll deal with it. Like it's too late at that point.
Right, right. We opened up a service division about 2 years ago, and we head out to the job site and do the startup on the materials. We know our equipment, they're factory authorized, so these guys can get it fixed before they actually have to use it. Hopefully we're a few months ahead of time so we can work on those problems. A lot of problems that happen in the field aren't ours either, but we can identify them. There's a lot of control issues. They got to tell the unit to start, and they just don't have things hooked up correctly.
Yeah.
A lot of pieces, and we have to work together as a team to get it all working. Everybody's got to be there.
Sure. So Mike, for people who are looking, they go, wow, so Mike took this thing over at like 12 to 15 million, grew it to 40, now grew it to 100 million. What are some of the key lessons that you would share with them that says, hey, if you're looking to grow at this type of pace, here are some of the key steps. Here are 2 or 3 things that you really got to focus on to achieve that level of success.
So one of my mentors told me, always work on your foundation. So whatever that looks like for your company, always build and continue building the foundation of what you're doing. Also, working with great people, hiring good people, and making sure that everybody in your company is working in the same direction, keeping open communications, making it a desirable workplace. If nobody wants to come work for you, that's bad, right? People have got to want to come to work for you. And this is something I learned 15 years ago, because air control products hasn't been the ideal place to work for its entire 50 years of existence. There was a time there where it wasn't very bright. So, and that I grew up here during that time frame. So understanding that I wanted to make it a desirable workplace and working on your reputation, taking care of your people, always doing the right thing, building trust. I know a lot of these things are cliche, but they are so true. Hard work and dedication to your people, your employees, and building that foundation is probably our biggest reason for success.
Yeah, and you guys live it. So I think the challenge is that other people talk about, well, we want to look out for our employees and our customers, but for them, it is a cliche. For you guys, it's part of your culture. So part of your DNA is, are we taking care of people? I remember you mentioned Kyle. When Kyle's wife gave birth, it wasn't like, oh, when are you coming into work? It was like, hey, Kyle, what are you doing to make sure you're there for your family and this and that? That's more important than anything going on at work. It wasn't like, there's a lot of companies who are like, oh, you had a baby. That's great. You're going to be in tomorrow. It's like, and at that point, it's like, we care about our employees, but only to the extent that you're going to be here tomorrow.
Right. Now, we work really hard on making sure that when people take vacations or maternity leave, whatever, we have their back covered. Yeah. That's why we do so many things here. We're talking right now about vacation season coming. So part of my soapbox speech for our Tuesday morning meetings is make sure you guys have all your ducks in a row. We know when you're leaving. You know who your backup is, so we don't have to call you. We do not want to call you on vacation. We want you to go and get re-energized and come back and feel better than ever.
That's great. So what's next as we wrap this up, or any final words that you want to share with people?
Continuing to build a great company, that can forever last, making sure that we put my son in a position for success, surrounding him with the right people. It's about building that foundation. I don't care how big you get, you always need to work on your foundation. So that's next. We have a lot of opportunities coming our way as we continue to grow. So I don't know exactly where we're going. I'm the visionary, so that's probably not a good statement. But I know about how we're going to get there. We have a lot of great people. And for the first time in my career, I feel that we have enough people on the bench to do whatever comes our way. And we're getting pretty good at it. But again, it comes down to the people and having them happy and giving them the right tools to be successful. You have to pour into them and they will give it right back to you. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, congratulations. Amazing success. It's always fun to see, because I can share these concepts with anybody. It's the companies that actually internalize it, implement it. Seeing you have the client vision pyramid in the document you're sharing with your partners and customers is kind of the epitome of that you're not just, giving it lip service. You guys are actually living it, which I think has a lot to do with the success you guys have had, and just that culture of caring for your customers and your employees. You can't fake that stuff. And the authenticity you guys have is really inspiring. And I'm sure it's given a lot of other people ideas too. So thanks for taking the time to share your story.
It has, absolutely. When we can help our customers grow their business through our theories, it actually works. So we're helping them become better business people as well.
Awesome.
So it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Gotta love it. All right. Thanks again, Mike.
All right, Ian. Take care.